Shedeur Sanders completely dominates pro day while critics eat their words. The NFL world doubted him. One throw shut them all up. Shedeur Sanders just put every hater on notice.
Pre-draft build-up, a lot was made of how many times the Giants met with Shedeur Sanders and how often they met with him. The Browns did their work too. They met with him at length at the Shrine Game, East-West. Then at the Combine they met with him. Then they had him in at the top 30. And at his pro day, they took him and Travis Hunter out to dinner. And let me tell you the people at that meeting. Andrew Berry, Kevin Stefanski, Musgrave, Tommy Reese, Paul DePodesta, Jimmy Haslam, J.W. Johnson, the son-in-law of Jimmy Haslam. They all met with him and they felt comfortable. And at a certain point, which I believe Field Yates said at the table, at 144 in the draft, whether you need a quarterback or not, it is the most important position in all of football. They feel comfortable with him, Adam, and they are happy to have him.
You know what they say about doubters? They get loud when you're climbing, but they get real quiet when you reach the top. For months, NFL scouts whispered the same tired narrative about Shedeur Sanders. He's just Coach Prime's kid. He can't handle NFL pressure. College success doesn't translate. But on one scorching afternoon in Boulder, Colorado, everything changed. When the cameras rolled and the stopwatches started ticking, Shedeur Sanders didn't just silence his critics. He made them eat every single word they'd ever said about him. And when Peter Schrager, one of the most respected voices in NFL media, dropped that one word that changes everything, generational, you could practically hear jaws hitting the floor across NFL front offices. What happened at that Pro Day wasn't just impressive, it was historic asterisk. Let me take you back to where this all started, because context is everything in this story. Remember when Deion Sanders first arrived at Colorado? The media circus, the skepticism, the eye rolls from traditional football minds who thought Prime was just another celebrity coach trying to make a splash. But here's what those doubters didn't understand. When you're Deion Sanders, you don't just bring flash and headlines. You bring a winning mentality that runs so deep, it's literally in your DNA. And that DNA? It flows through his son Shedeur. But being Coach Prime's son has been both a blessing and a curse for Shedeur. Every touchdown pass gets scrutinized. Every interception gets magnified. Every success gets questioned with that same tired refrain. Is he really that good? Or is it just nepotism? Well, let me ask you something. Can nepotism throw a 65-yard rope on a comeback route with pinpoint accuracy? Can family connections make you complete 72% of your passes against Power 5 competition? Can having a famous father teach you to read NFL-level defenses like you're reading a children's book? The answer is no. And that's exactly what Shedeur was about to prove to every single person who ever doubted him.
I gotta tell you about two relationships that I think were important here. Number one, Jimmy Haslam. Deion Sanders, Shedeur Sanders developed a relationship during this process with the Browns owner, Jimmy Haslam, and the Browns quarterback coach is Bill Musgrave. Bill Musgrave and Deion Sanders were teammates together on the San Francisco 49ers, and Deion Sanders considers Bill Musgrave to be one of his guys. And now the Cleveland Browns, who have had one of the messiest, ugliest quarterback situations in the league for years, are taking a whole group of quarterbacks and putting them together. They now have Deshaun Watson. They now have Kenny Pickett. They now have Joe Flacco. They now have Dylan Gabriel. They now have Shedeur Sanders. And the storylines are just beginning.
It's a typical Colorado morning, but there's electricity in the air that you can practically taste. NFL scouts from all 32 teams have converged on Boulder, notepads ready, stopwatches primed, and most importantly, preconceived notions firmly in place. These aren't just any scouts either. We're talking about the guys who discovered Josh Allen in Wyoming, who saw Patrick Mahomes' potential at Texas Tech, who knew Lamar Jackson was special when others saw a running back playing quarterback. These are the talent evaluators who get paid millions to see things others can't see. And yet, many of them arrived in Colorado that day with their minds already made up about Shedeur Sanders. But here's where it gets interesting. And this is something most people don't know about that day. 3 hours before the pro day officially started, Shedeur was already on the field, not running casual warm-ups or taking easy throws. He was out there working through a full NFL-style progression with his receivers, fine-tuning timing routes, and doing something that made every scout in the building stop and take notice. He was calling out defensive coverage adjustments, not just recognizing them, calling them out loud. explaining to his receivers exactly how they needed to modify their routes based on what he was seeing from the defense. This wasn't college-level pattern recognition. This was NFL quarterback IQ on full display. Point one scout, and I won't name names because this comes from a source close to the situation, turned to his colleague and said, "This kid's football IQ is off the charts. He's seeing things most rookies take 2 years to understand." But the real show was just getting started. When the official pro day began, Shedeur walked onto that field like he owned it. Not arrogant, not cocky, just supremely confident. You could see it in his posture, in the way he carried himself, in how he commanded respect from every receiver, every coach, every person in that building. The first throw was a simple 15-yard out route. Clean, crisp, perfect spiral. Nothing flashy, just fundamentally sound. But it was the second throw that made people lean forward in their seats, a 45-yard deep comeback route that required the receiver to stem his route at exactly 18 yards, sell the comeback, then break back to the quarterback. The margin for error? Basically zero. Too early, and it's an interception. Too late, and it's incomplete. The timing has to be absolutely perfect. Shedeur didn't just complete the throw. He delivered it with such precision, such perfect timing, that the receiver barely had to adjust his stride. The ball arrived exactly where it needed to be, exactly when it needed to be there. Peter Schrager, who's covered the NFL for over a decade, who's seen every pro day, every combine, every workout that matters, was watching from the sidelines. And I'm told that after that throw, he grabbed his phone and started furiously typing notes. But wait, it gets better. The third throw was where Shedeur started to separate himself from every other quarterback prospect in this class. A 35-yard touchdown pass to the back corner of the end zone. Not just any corner route. We're talking about a throw that required him to fit the ball into a window roughly the size of a pizza box, with perfect touch, perfect trajectory, and perfect timing. The receiver had to adjust his route midstream based on how the imaginary safety was playing the coverage. Shedeur read the adjustment, processed it in real time, and delivered a strike that would make Aaron Rodgers proud. But here's the thing that really got people talking, and this is where the story takes a dramatic turn. After that throw, Shedeur walked over to the group of scouts and said something that nobody expected. He said, "That's not even my best throw. Want to see something special?" The audacity, the confidence, the pure, unfiltered belief in his own ability. Some might call it arrogance, but when you can back it up the way Shedeur was about to back it up, it's not arrogance, it's just fact. What happened next was the throw that changed everything. Shedeur lined up in the shotgun formation, took the snap, and immediately faced a simulated blitz from his left side. He had to step up in the pocket, avoid the rush, keep his eyes downfield, and deliver a strike to a receiver running a post pattern against tight coverage. This isn't just a physical test, it's a mental test. It's reading the defense, processing the pressure, trusting your protection, and making a throw under duress. It's everything an NFL quarterback needs to do, compressed into about 2.5 seconds. The throw? A 50-yard laser beam that split two defenders and hit the receiver in perfect stride. The velocity was incredible. The accuracy was surgical. The decision-making was instantaneous. But it wasn't just the throw that had everyone talking. It was what Shedeur did after the throw. He didn't celebrate. He didn't pump his fist. He just turned to the scouts and said, "Next." Like it was routine. Like throwing perfect strikes under pressure was just another Tuesday for him. That's when Peter Schrager made the call that's still reverberating through NFL circles today. He got on his phone with his producer and said, and I'm paraphrasing, "Here, because I wasn't on the call, we need to talk about this kid differently. This isn't just another college quarterback. This is generational talent." Generational. That word gets thrown around a lot in sports, but when Peter Schrager uses it, people listen. This is the guy who called Josh Allen's potential when others saw a raw prospect from Wyoming. This is the analyst who recognized Lamar Jackson's unique skill set when others wanted to move him to wide receiver. When Schrager calls someone generational, it means something, but the pro day wasn't over yet. Because what happened next was the moment that turned believers into fanatics and skeptics into converts. Shedeur announced that he wanted to attempt something that's rarely done at pro days. A full 2-minute drill simulation. Not just a few throws, but a complete game-winning drive scenario with the clock running, pressure mounting, and everything on the line. The setup was simple. 2 minutes on the clock, 80 yards to go, down by 4 points, no timeouts. Everything an NFL quarterback faces in the most pressure-packed moments of professional football. The first play was a 12-yard slant over the middle. Quick decision, accurate throw, good timing. But it was the second play that showed everyone why Shedeur Sanders is different. Facing a 3rd and 8 with 1:30 left on the clock, Shedeur audibled at the line of scrimmage. He saw something in the defense that his receivers didn't see, called a hot route, and delivered a strike for a 22-yard gain that moved the chains and got his team into scoring position. The audible wasn't scripted. The hot route wasn't planned. It was pure football instinct, the kind of on-field leadership that you can't teach and you can't fake. With 45 seconds left and 35 yards to go, Shedeur faced his biggest test of the day. The simulated defense was playing aggressive coverage, daring him to make a mistake. One bad throw, one poor decision, and the entire drive falls apart. This is where champions are made. This is where pretenders get exposed. This is where Shedeur Sanders reminded everyone why he's Coach Prime's son, not because of genetics, but because of mentality. The throw was a thing of beauty. A 25-yard touchdown pass to the corner of the end zone, threaded between 2 defenders, with such precision that the receiver barely had to adjust his route. The ball placement was perfect. The timing was flawless. The execution was championship level, but it was what happened after the throw that really told the story. Shedeur didn't celebrate. He didn't showboat. He walked over to the group of scouts and said, "Any questions?" The silence was deafening. These are guys who've seen every quarterback prospect in the country. They've watched film on every signal caller worth watching. They've been to pro days for players who went on to win Super Bowls, and they were speechless. That's when Peter Schrager made the statement that's still trending on social media today. He said, and I quote, "I've seen a lot of quarterbacks in my career. I've watched pro days for guys who went on to become Hall of Famers. But what I just witnessed from Shedeur Sanders was different. This wasn't just impressive, it was generational. Generational. There's that word again. And when you break down everything that happened that day, it's hard to argue with Schrager's assessment. But here's the thing that really gets me about this whole story, and this is where it gets controversial. All those critics who questioned Shedeur's ability, who suggested he was just riding his father's coattails, who claimed he couldn't handle NFL-level pressure, where are they now? Some of them are backtracking. Some are claiming they always believed in him. Some are trying to rewrite history and pretend they never doubted him in the first place. But the internet is forever, and social media receipts don't lie. We remember who said what. We remember who doubted. And we remember who believed. The truth is, Shedeur Sanders has been proving doubters wrong his entire career. At Jackson State, critics said he couldn't succeed against Power 5 competition. At Colorado, they said he couldn't handle the pressure of major college football. At his pro day, they said he couldn't translate his college success to the NFL level. Every single time, he's proven them wrong. Every single time, he's exceeded expectations. Every single time, he's silenced the noise with his performance.so. Here's my question for you. At what point do we stop calling it luck and start calling it skill? At what point do we stop attributing his success to his father's name and start giving credit where credit is due? Because what happened at that pro day wasn't about nepotism. It wasn't about connections. It wasn't about getting special treatment because of his last name. It was about a young man who's spent his entire life preparing for moments like this, who's developed his craft to an elite level, and who's ready to prove that he belongs at the highest level of professional football. The question isn't whether Shedeur Sanders can play in the NFL. The question is how high his ceiling really is. And based on what we saw at that pro day, based on Peter Schrager's assessment, based on the reaction from NFL scouts who've seen it all, that ceiling might be higher than anyone imagined. I'll leave you with this. When draft day comes, when Shedeur Sanders hears his name called, when he steps onto an NFL field for the first time, remember this moment. Remember the doubters who said he couldn't do it. Remember the critics who questioned his ability. Remember the people who suggested he was just riding his father's legacy. And remember the day when a young quarterback from Colorado reminded everyone that greatness doesn't care about your last name. It only cares about your ability to perform when it matters most. What do you think? Is Shedeur Sanders the real deal, or are we getting caught up in the hype? And more importantly, which team do you think will be smart enough to draft him? Let me know in the comments below, and don't Forget to subscribe for more NFL draft coverage that the mainstream media won't tell you about.